Imagine being married to one man. Then imagine being married to his brother, and possibly another. Not separately, not secretly, but as one household, one wife, multiple brothers, one family unit. To many people today, that sounds impossible. But in parts of historical Tibet, this was a real marriage system. It is called fraternal polyandry. That means brothers sharing one wife. And while it may sound strange at first, it was not simply about romance, desire, or shock value. It was about land, survival, inheritance, family pressure, and keeping a household from falling apart. But for the woman at the center of it, the experience could be deeply difficult. So why was it so hard to be a shared wife in ancient Tibet? To understand this, we have to understand the world around her. Tibet is not an easy place to farm. Much of the region is high, cold, dry, and mountainous. Good farmland can be limited. Pasture land matters. Animals matter. Households need labor to survive. In a place like that, land is not just property. It is life. If a family owns a small piece of good land, dividing it again and again between sons can destroy the family's future. One generation splits the land between three brothers. The next generation splits it again. Soon, nobody has enough to support a household. Fraternal polyandry helped prevent that. Instead of each brother marrying a different wife and creating a separate household, the brothers married one woman and stayed together. The land remained undivided. The animals stayed under one family. The brothers continued working for one household. Children belonged to the shared family line. From the outside, the system was practical. It protected property, it reduced inheritance conflict, it kept labor together. It helped families survive in a harsh environment. But practical for the household did not always mean easy for the wife. A woman entering this marriage did not just marry one person. She married a structure. She entered a home where several men could claim the role of husband. Often, the eldest brother had the highest authority. He might manage the household, represent the family publicly, and make major decisions. Younger brothers might have lower status, even though they were also husbands. This created tension. The wife had to navigate a hierarchy of men inside her own marriage. She might be expected to respect the eldest brother most, but she also had obligations toward the younger brothers. If she favored one brother too openly, jealousy could grow. If she ignored another, conflict could rise. If the brothers were already divided by age, personality, or status, she could become the emotional center of their rivalry. That is one of the hardest parts. She was expected to keep balance. Not just cook, work, bear children, and manage domestic life, but also maintain peace between husbands who were brothers. A single marriage can be emotionally complicated. Now imagine that marriage multiplied inside one household. Every choice could be watched. Who does she speak to longest? Who does she sleep beside? Who does she laugh with? Who does she ask for help? Who does she seem to trust? In a small home, privacy was limited. Emotional space was limited. A wife could be surrounded by family and still feel trapped. There was also the issue of consent. Some women may have accepted this system because it was normal in their community, offered security, or protected their children's future. Others may have had little real choice. Marriages in many traditional societies were often arranged or heavily influenced by family needs. Love was not always the main purpose. Marriage was an economic and social agreement. A daughter's marriage could connect households, preserve property, or secure survival. So a woman might be asked to accept a marriage that served family strategy more than personal desire. This does not mean every woman suffered in the same way. Some may have gained status as the central wife of a strong household. Some may have had cooperative relationships with their husbands. Some may have preferred one stable family over the uncertainty of poverty. But the pressure was real. The system asked a lot of her. Her body also carried the burden of inheritance. Children were crucial. A household needed heirs. But in a polyandrous marriage, biological fatherhood could be complicated. In many cases, the children were treated as belonging to the brother group or household rather than being publicly divided by exact biological father. This could reduce conflict, but it could also place pressure on the wife. Her fertility mattered to everyone. If she became pregnant, the household continued. If she did not, she could be blamed. If there were questions about paternity, she could be judged. If one brother felt excluded, resentment could build. Again, the wife had to carry the emotional and social weight of the system. Daily labor was another challenge. Tibetan households required work. Food had to be prepared, animals cared for, fuel gathered, clothing repaired, children raised, religious duties observed, guests hosted, fields or herds managed depending on the family's way of life. A shared wife was not living in comfort simply because she had multiple husbands. She was often responsible for holding the domestic world together. And because the household was larger, expectations could be larger too. More husbands could mean more labor support, but also more demands, more personalities, more needs, more chances for conflict. If the brothers worked well together, the household might be stable. If they fought, the wife could be pulled into disputes she did not create. There was also a quiet loss of individuality. In this system, the wife could become the solution to a family's economic problem. Her marriage helped keep land whole. Her children preserved the line. Her labor maintained the home. Her relationships kept the brothers united. But what about her personal desires? What if she loved one brother and disliked another? What if one was kind and another was cruel? What if she wanted a separate home? What if she wanted fewer obligations? Traditional systems often left limited room for those questions. Survival came first. Family came first. Land came first. The woman's individual emotional life could come last. That is why this system can look both logical and harsh at the same time. From an economic perspective, it solved a real problem. From a human perspective, it could create real pain. Fraternal polyandry also affected the brothers. Younger brothers might have less authority. They might feel secondary in their own marriage. They might want independence, but be pressured to stay. The eldest brother might carry responsibility for everyone. The system demanded cooperation from all sides, but the wife often stood at the center of the emotional complexity. If the marriage worked, people might praise the household stability. If it failed, she could become an easy target for blame. This is common in many patriarchal systems. Women are asked to maintain harmony, then blamed when harmony breaks. Still, we should avoid reducing Tibetan women to victims only. That would be too simple. Women in historical Tibet could be strong, skilled, influential, and practical. Some managed households with intelligence and authority. Some may have used their position to negotiate between brothers. Some may have preferred the security of a large, undivided household to the risks of poverty or abandonment. Human lives are complicated. A system can be oppressive in some ways and protective in others. It can give security while limiting freedom. It can reduce poverty while increasing emotional pressure. It can help a family survive while making one woman carry too much. That is the real story. Not that ancient Tibet was strange for the sake of being strange, but that people created marriage systems to fit difficult environments. When land is scarce, inheritance becomes dangerous. When households need labor, family structure becomes strategy. When survival is uncertain, love may not be the main organizing principle. Fraternal polyandry was one answer to those pressures, but it was an answer with a cost. And much of that cost could fall on the wife. She had to share intimacy, attention, responsibility, and status across multiple husbands. She had to manage jealousy without always having power. She had to produce heirs without full control over how others judged her. She had to work inside a household built around preserving land and male family lines. And she had to do all of this while appearing steady, loyal, and capable. So yes, being a shared wife in ancient Tibet could be hard. Not because the people involved were foolish, but because the system was built around survival before personal comfort. It shows us something important about the past. Marriage was not always a private love story. Often, it was an economic machine, a survival contract, a way to keep land, labor, children, and status connected. And inside that machine were real people, with jealousy, duty, fear, affection, resentment, hope, and exhaustion. When we look at a practice like fraternal polyandry, we should not only ask, why did they do that? We should also ask, who carried the weight of making it work? In many cases, the answer was the woman, the wife, the mother, the outsider brought into a family and expected to hold it together. Her life reminds us that history is not just kings, battles, and borders. It is also the quiet pressure placed on ordinary people by the systems they were born into. And sometimes, the hardest part of surviving the past was not the mountains, the cold, or the lack of land. It was being asked to become the solution to everyone else's problem.